I'm Jane Hobson, Managing Editor at Global Travel Retail Magazine, and today I am joined by José Luis Donagaray, the Secretary General at ASUTIL, as well as our Deputy Editor here at the magazine, Laura Shirk. Thanks for joining me today, José and Laura. It's great to see you both. So let's begin with a general overview of what's to be expected at the event in Montevideo, José.
Okay, we'll be held in Montevideo. The 8th, it will start on the night of the 8th, the 9th and the 10th of November, the Encuentro of Border Shops. It's a meeting about borders, duty-free borders, okay? And it will be done in Montevideo in the Hyatt Centric Hotel. And the main reason for doing it in Montevideo is because we are celebrating the 35th anniversary of the first operation of duty-free in borders from Uruguay. As you know, Uruguay has been the leading country in border stores in the region, in Latin America, and afterwards, other countries have copied the system over. So it has been a 35-year development of this safe, secure, and transparent business that is very, very good, not only for the tourists, but very, very good for the local and the regional economies. As you know, Uruguay is a very, very small country that has, in one side, all the limits with Argentina by a river, the Rio Uruguay and the Rio La Plata. On the other side, we have all the border with Brazil that is land border. So it's very difficult as a small country to have, I would say, the harmonization of the regional economies in the border. So Uruguay has developed these stores that gave a lot of opportunity to plenty of people, plenty of women that work there, okay? Because as I said, Uruguay is very small, it's 500 kilometers from south to north and east to west, the same. And 80% of the population and 80% of the GDP is concentrated all over 180 kilometers around the capital. So all the border with Brazil is very few people, and this gives the opportunity to a lot of women and people to work there in the duty-free stores, to develop the business of hotel, of tourism, restaurant, etc., etc. So I think it's a very, very good idea to celebrate with the Uruguayan government, with authorities from customs, from the Ministry for Economy, Foreign Affairs, these 35 years, and see also what has been the developing of this type of stores now in Brazil, that we have ended the pandemic, and we hope it will grow very, very quick, and also in Argentina. As I said, we will start the 8th with an opening cocktail. The 9th, we'll have in the morning conference and speakers. And the afternoon, we'll have networking time between operators and suppliers to do business. A dinner at night, and the other day on the morning speakers, a brunch at midday, and bye-bye, and always all the people go back home.
It sounds like a much needed gathering. Is this the first event since 2019 for the Borders Conference? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The last we did was in 2019 in Porto Alegre in Brazil. The main reason to do it in Porto Alegre is because Porto Alegre was the political capital, because it's inside the estado of Rio Grande do Sul. That is the main state that has pushed a lot for the law of duty-free stores in Brazil.
Okay, so before we get on to what attendees can expect in November, I'm curious to know, it's the first time that you're hosting it since 2019. Obviously, this holds the promise of some kind of indication of recovery. I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about that.
Of course, first of all, the borders are all open. You have the circulation of people all over the borders from Uruguay to Brazil, Argentina, all over South America in a safe way and without PCRs or tests or et cetera. So we are talking about the recovery. Yes. We are talking about the movement of people and tourists. Yes. So as you know, it's duty-free is very associated, and we have to be associated with tourists. So it has direct relationship. So for us, it's very important to show what are the figures. And the idea is to show a lot of numbers, figures, data, big data, hard data, that would compare what is happening or has happened the first 6 months of this year versus the first 6 months of 2019, where there was no pandemic, okay? And to show, but also in the case of Brazil, because the stores in Brazil started at the end of 2018, show the development, what happened during pandemic. Although Brazil had pandemic, a lot of stores have been open. There are stores that will be opening now in the next months. So that's a good issue to see the development of business. We have made some changes in the Brazilian law about allowances, about cost, about fixed cost, blah, blah, blah. But there is a lot of things to share, okay?
Okay, excellent, excellent. So lots of promise in terms of the development of new stores. You said in the next month, so hopefully that progress continues.
And also, it's a good opportunity for all the suppliers to do a trip and visit Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, and see the operations in the airport. So we try to do this to give a whole bunch of opportunity to profit of a lot of things at the same time.
Okay, okay. So now back to the event itself. What can attendees expect? Anything different than what happened last in 2019? Any new networking opportunities or anything that you can share?
Well, the networking opportunities are unique, as you know, in this type of meeting. We do it in joint with the Cámara Empresarios Free Shop from Uruguay. There's a lot of things you can see. You can see suppliers, you can meet other operators, you will receive a lot of information. Surely we'll have the economist Carlos Melconian, who will talk us about the situation of Brazil that will have ended their elections at that moment with a new president. What will happen next year in Argentina? What will happen in Argentina with the economy of Argentina? So you can take a lot of information. The idea is to share hard information, hard data for you, okay?
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so Laura's got some questions coming out for you, Jose, just on a general Latin America.
And also one of the biggest things we want is we will have people from the government of Brazil and from Uruguay, and I expect from Argentina, today discuss, because we need to work more closely, all the countries, in the harmonization of the different regimes of duty-free in the borders.
Yeah,
okay?
Yep. Excellent. Okay, thank you, Jose. I appreciate it. Thanks for answering my questions. Laura, I'll hand it over to you. Oh, you're just on mute, Laura. There we go.
Great. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes,
perfect.
Of course.
Great. Thank you so much, Jane. I appreciate it. And thank you again for taking the time, Jose. I appreciate it. So we'll actually be doing a feature in our CAN issue in October. It'll be distributed at the show. So just a bit of a Latin America's roundup. So a few questions for you.
Okay.
Looking to establish a presence in Brazil travel hubs. Where will the new border stores be opening? Because I know there's expected opening of 4 new ones by the end of the year.
Yes, approximately 3 will be open up to the end of the year. Right. Basically, I must explain that this type of business is really a unique and different experience, because in Uruguay, the Uruguayans cannot buy at the borders, okay, because it's only for tourists. In Argentina, the same. But in Brazil, and I will explain the reason why, the Brazilians can buy in their own duty-free stores $500 per month, okay? You don't have to buy once in one time. You can buy it in different stores, blah, blah. But you will have an account, okay, that will end every 30 days from the first purchase, and you cannot buy more than $500. But that's a great news. And why is that? The main reason is that Brazil has authorized this type of business only in what is called the twin cities. So cities that are in front a city from another country, only separated by a river or by a street, okay? And why this? For example, if you go to a city that is called in Brazil, Livramento and Uruguay Rivera, it's the northest city in Uruguay, we say. And you do up to the south, to the capital of Montevideo, you have 500 kilometers. And there you have 3.2 million inhabitants. If you do the same trip over the north to Brazil, from Livramento to the north, you will have 12 million inhabitants. So Brazil cannot do a law to sell to the Uruguayan or Argentinian tourists, because they have much more population than the tourists they can receive in the area of influence, okay? So they have this authorization. So the development of this type of stores is basically by the size of the Brazilian city that is in the border, because you can buy to the Brazilians, you sell to the Brazilians. So the main cities are Foz do Iguaçu, Uruguayana, Puerto Suárez, afterwards come Livramento and others. And there are 33 possibilities. The only country that has no border with Brazil is Chile. All the rest of the country, Latin America as well. But of course, you have there Venezuela, you have Colombia in the jungle, but you have a lot of complicated zone. So the business has continued to develop. In Foz do Iguaçu, you will be having by the end of the year 5 stores. As you know, the triple border is very, in Uruguayana you have, but you have a lot of family-owned companies that are developing in small cities in borders also. So the business is moving. Not quickly, because Brazil is quite difficult in terms of bureaucracy to get the authorization, okay? But it's moving forward.
Right, great, that's so happy to hear. And just kind of jumping off that a little bit, it's how does the product mix available in Brazil duty-free reflect the increase of the allowance, which is what we've talked about a little bit, but I think there's an understanding about tech and electronics, is that right?
Yes, because Brazil, well, in the 1st of January 2021, Brazil changed in airports and in borders from 500 to 1,000 and in borders from 300 to 500, but not had an increase for the Brazilians to buy their own lojas francas, border shops. And that increase came the 1st of January, the 10th of January of this year from 300 to 500. This gives a lot of potential to you because it permits also to buy expensive things because you have more allowance, to increase the medium average ticket because you have a lot of costs that are associated to the ticket, okay? So that helps to drop down the fixed cost. So you can sell television, you know, Brazil will be playing the World Championship of Football in Qatar. So right. You can sell for $500 a 42 LCD television, and you can see a lot of things and amplifiers and a lot of things. You can have some computers for $500, some tablets, a lot of things that by $300 you don't have. So that will help a lot of things because normally the idea is that the duty-free stores will sell things that you cannot find in a normal store in the city. That's the idea. Okay?
Right. That's great. Thank you so much. And good luck to the soccer game, definitely. Right. How is the association working with partners to improve at-home delivery and harmonize duty-free allowance, which is what we talked about, but I'm wondering when they can kind of be on an even playing field.
Well, we are in permanent contact with all the operators in the region. So we do our, I would say, lobby movements besides the operators in each country. So we had a lot of changes in allowances in Argentina, in Uruguay, in Brazil. In other countries, we have changes of allowances of alcohol, of tobacco. But basically, what we need to know, we have developed now the delivery at home in Brazil. When you buy, you are in transit and you buy in Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, you can ask for the delivery of the goods to your home. You are having the pickup now in Argentina and Ezeiza. So what we're trying to do is to develop the business. The business is very, very important. Okay, duty-free stores are very, very important, not only for the companies, are important for the government, are important for the local GDP, are important for the airports, are important for the airlines. So there is a lot of things involved. For example, if you go to the regional economies in Uruguay borders, in some cases, okay, duty-free are responsible for more or less 30% of the formal employee. So that's a lot. And also a lot of the income of customs is responsible. And also one of the things you have, as I told you, you had a lot of women's working there that they don't have another opportunities because in that regional economy, you don't have big companies. You have family-owned company, small company of 2 or 3 persons, and they not only work for a big company, but they receive, executive education by their brands, by Diageo, by Pernod Ricard, by Clarence, by L'Oreal. So there is a lot of improvement that the only way that young women could develop his business is working as a low profitable employee in a very, very small company in a regional economy, okay? Or coming to the capital to try to study and to get a job, okay? So it's very, very important not in the airports, of course, because you know that non-aeronautical revenues or today we are up to 50% of the total revenues and non-aeronautical revenues with duty-free, the experience that brings to people. Well, so there is a lot of things that the government have been now in pandemia understanding. One of the good things of the pandemia was that the government acknowledged and realized with the importance of duty-free when the airplane stopped and said, look, and who's gonna pay the bill now? There's no income from the duty-free, there's no income from the airline. Okay.
Right, yeah, no, it's really interesting about women's working as well. And just one last question for you. In addition to low frequency of international flights, what recovery challenges are South American countries facing right now?
Well, we are facing great problem because, as you know, well, you have seen in the news in the States and in Europe, the chaos you have with problem of the lack of pilots, the lack of airplanes, overbooked flights, etc., etc. So that is affecting the whole business, okay? We are at this moment more or less 49-50% of less frequency than in 2019, okay? And we expect that this recovery will take more or less at the end of 2023, mid-2024, because you cannot do an airplane in 1 week or in 2 weeks. You have also to prepare pilots. That could be more quickly. But the problem of the airplanes is you need to do airplanes, and now everyone is asking for airplanes. And you cannot do, well, I'm going to do a new factory for the airplanes. And in 2 years, what do you do with that factory? Because you will have completed, okay, the airplanes. So you will have a factory that will be empty because you don't need to continue producing at the same volume. So it's quite, the prices of the tickets are increasing a lot, but well, that's reality. Welcome to the new world with pandemic and war. The war, right. The Russia and Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a scary place right now, that's for sure. Yeah, a little bit. Thank you so much. That was my last question, and I'll just take it over back to Jane. And if you want to summarize anything or wrap it up.
No. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jose. We appreciate your time. It was excellent to see you, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon.
Well, you have my phone, you have my mail. When you want, we can talk, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.